Hello, externs. Lisa Patterson here. This is presentation week. I just wanted to check in and give you a little bit of direction on what to do this week. Before I get started, I wanted to make a couple of announcements to you. I hope your self-care week went well and you got some good self-care in. Remember, without guilt, it was your assignment, and I want you to remember what it was like to do self-care without worrying about what you should have been doing instead. So that was, I hope, a success. If you did not get a chance to really do what you would have done, I encourage you to schedule a time later on to do it, and with that same mindset that says, this is time I owed myself and I'm going to do it. So if for some reason this week got away from you and you logged the assignment, but you really would have preferred to do something else or something for longer, do that. I want you to remember that you can keep doing self-care the same way. That's the whole point. So please do keep doing that. And I hope you had a great time. And thank you all for participating in all of that. So this week, I have one more announcement before I tell you about what we're doing this week, and that is that I know some people might have started a little bit early, or their hours are wrapping up quicker than others, and so I'm going to be posting the last week's class, the week 12 class, very soon, today or tomorrow. And that will enable you to access those wrap-up materials in time for you to have your last day pretty soon. So that includes the forms that you need for the bar and any other wrapping up tips that you would want to have before you finally say farewell to your placement supervisors. Although I hope that you're still keeping in touch with them after the semester is over. That's kind of the point as well. These externships are meant to give you good networking contacts for the rest of your career, or at least for a little while, in addition to the actual experience that you had. So watch for that. If you see that pop up, it's not because it's due. It's not due till the regular due date at the end of the semester, but I wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to access it while you were still there. So that is the housekeeping for this week. Some of you may have not loved to see the title of this week. It's called Presentations, and it is what it sounds like. If you looked on the syllabus, you knew it was coming. So what I'd like you to be able to have a chance to do during this class is to just exercise that a couple of muscles. And one of them is something that you have been doing in law school. You've been talking to people, right? So you've been talking in class, or you've been on trial team, or you've been doing other things that make you stand up and talk. But in this case, going forward, you are going to be in meetings, you are going to have to explain things. It's not always just going to be about something official. It could be, maybe you'll give a CLE someday, maybe sooner than you think. So I wanted to just give you some practice on making a very, very short presentation, 5 minutes. No more than 5 minutes. If it's 4 minutes, that's fine. But we don't want it to go on. We want it to be 5 minutes. And 5 minutes and a half is fine too, but let's not go crazy. So 5 minutes. I don't want people emailing me saying, oh my gosh, I can't get it below 5:15. So just keep it around there. But the topic is kind of broad. You can make it whatever you want, but the general theme is something that you learned at your externship that you would like to share with your peers. So the way we're going to do it is, rather than have everyone in the whole class see everyone else's, I'm going to break you up into smaller groups, because I'm also going to ask you for the second half of the assignment to give feedback to the people in your group on their presentations. And so you'll see in the materials, there's not only some materials that deal with the presentations themselves, one of which is dealing with the anxiety that you might feel around doing it, but also some guidelines for how to give feedback to people, because that's also something that you are going to have to do as a professional, whether it's officially because you're supervising someone, or just because you're working with someone and you need to do a project together. So I'm sure you're already doing that as well, but this is a good thing to get some formal training on and to have some good advice for. So that's basically the whole the gist of the whole project. What I will do is I will have the the presentations will be due at the regular time on Monday at midnight. And then we will have over the next week, the feedback can be done. That's because it's hard to give feedback if everyone's assignment isn't already done, if their presentation isn't in there. So we will have the presentation due at the regular time. And then certainly if there are some in there that you can comment on, certainly do those if it is before Monday. But I'll give you till the end of the week to finish up doing feedback on the rest of your group. So, and that's a reason I give you a small group as well, because I'm going to ask you to give feedback on everyone in your group. So it'll take a little bit to watch all of the videos, even though they're only 5 minutes. So you can do whatever you want. The easiest way to record them is the way I do these, which is by sitting in front of my Zoom, hitting record, and it'll then download the recording either to my computer or to the cloud. So that's an easy way to do it. Just be aware when you do upload it, sometimes just double check. Have a friend double check that they can actually open it, because sometimes some of the video files that go in are difficult to open, especially if you're on a PC or an actual desktop as opposed to a phone. So just whatever format you use to upload your video, make sure it works. So just a couple of things I think on presentations. There's a lot of material to read. Not that you have to read all of it cover to cover, as we've talked about, but it's at your disposal if you want some help. But basically, watch your lighting, make sure the background of your presentation is what you want it to be. You don't have to do a PowerPoint or any kind of props unless you really want to and it really helps you. It might be your style that having words in front of you gives you more confidence, because you don't have to speak extemporaneously. For other people, that's really distracting and it's easier for them to just talk. That's your style. Related to what we talked about with your strengths, you know what your strengths are. So design your approach the way that it works the best for you. This isn't meant to be something that takes you hours and hours and hours to prepare for. It's meant to be something that you can outline or do a no more than an hour's prep on at the most. Maybe very, very much little less than that. And then you're maybe if you have to start over a couple of times, a half an hour to record, 5 minutes at the most. Some of you might get it in the first go and you're done. So hopefully this is not something that is going to go over our allotted time for the week. It's something that you can just be thinking about. Think about a short topic that you want to talk about and present that. So organize your thoughts. Having some sort of outline or some sort of framework for yourself will help. Have a theme. State the theme at the beginning. That will help your audience follow you. The theme can be broad or very detailed. So it could be, I learned this very specific thing that my placement uses, and it was really interesting, and I'll tell you a little bit about this little very tiny thing I learned that nobody else ever learns. Or it could be something very broad, like I had no idea there were so few attorneys in Southern Tier. Let me talk about that. So it could be whatever you want, something you learned. So that's up to you. In some ways, think about it in terms of maybe if you were talking to someone who might be thinking about doing your placement in the future, it could be sort of an advertisement for that, or some kind of a day in the life, slice of life talk. If you want to do it that way, that's one idea, if that helps you. One thing you'd like them to know about the experience in your opinion. Secondly, on the feedback side, since we're doing it as in a discussion group, basically your feedback will take the form of written feedback in the discussion. So we won't have any sort of live back and forth the way you would if you were in real life, really. But as we know on social media, there's all kinds of methods of feedback all over the place on discussion boards. So it is something that we do a lot. And I'll just say there is a article on giving feedback. It's very good. It's very short, but it tells you, I think, everything I'd like you to know, at least for this. But basically, keep it positive. I don't want it to sound like we're all being very soft and sensitive and squishy, but there are a lot of studies that say that feedback is most easily digested by people if it is positive and not negative. There's actually a business purpose for making it positive. So practice your ability to, instead of saying, don't do this all the time, or you shouldn't do that, think about saying, I would have preferred it, or you may think about a technique that's different and name it. Along those lines, stay specific. Don't just make blanket statements about, wow, that was really distracting. Um, you might say something like, um, you could say it to me because I know I do this. Um, I find your inability to keep your eye contact steady distracting. Um, what I just did also was use I statements. So instead of saying, wow, you are so annoying, or what you're doing is really distracting, you could say, I found it distracting. That really puts it in context because maybe someone else wouldn't, but at least from your perspective, your feedback is that you found it distracting. Um, by the way, if anybody ever wants to just email me their feedback about my videos, you are free to do so. I've probably thought of all the things, but definitely I'm perfectly happy if you want to let me know. I do have an eye issue, so if I start like looking around, that's sort of why. But I know that it can be really distracting to some people. So anyway, so that kind of feedback is something that you could send, right? Um, I'm not sure why you're not always looking at the camera, but for me, that makes it hard for me to follow you because I'm trying to look you in the eye. So that would be a kind way to say that, in a way that is constructive to someone and not sort of, hitting a soft spot on them. Um, do I have to say don't insult people, don't shame them? Really be as positive as possible. We've all heard the love sandwich, right? Start with something nice, put some, sort of harder feedback in the middle, and then end with something nice. Try in your feedback to concentrate as much on letting people know what you did like or what you did find effective as much as you would have improved. So that's really it for me. I think there's not a huge secret in how to give feedback except to say, remember it's coming just from you. So couch it in those terms. So what you believe isn't really global, it's just your opinion. Um, and that's going to be really, really helpful. And I think your peers will really benefit from it. And I think the practice of you doing it will be helpful as well. I think also it'll be really fun since we're not in the same room ever to see each other, at least in your little group, and see what everyone's been doing and hear a little bit about what they've been working on. So as much as this is a little bit of that participation piece that a lot of people would rather not have to deal with, it's our way of feeling like a class for another session. So that's what we're about this week. If you have any questions, if you have tech issues, if you are finding this incredibly hard to do, please let me know. I have worked with students in the past. I've coached them and in some cases worked with them on alternatives to what we're doing because they just found it impossible. Um, that's very rare, but I'm open to that. So do communicate with me on how this is going if it's giving you trouble. But I think most of you are probably going to have a great time and do a good job. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what you put in. So I think that's it for me this week. Check out the readings. As I said, the last week's class will be posted because you'll need it. And the week in between will be coming up, probably posted sometime late next week on careers. So basically at the end of the semester, we talk about now how do we market this as an experience for you to further your career. So that's the rest of the semester. Can you believe it? So off we go. Let me know if I can help you and check in with me if you need anything. And good luck, everyone. Lights, camera, action. Take care.